Welcome to Calculations, the talk show. My name is Gary Johnson. I'm the founder of BlackMenInAmerica.com and Calculations. And we have with us today a guest, a young man who's, they call him a serial entrepreneur. He's a publicist, he's an author. I'm not going to take up too much time talking about it. I'm going to let him talk about himself. Welcome, Ivan Thomas. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mr. Gary Johnson, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, talk about what you are doing in terms of this book. And I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to show the people this. I know you have the book with you, but I'm also going to show the people this. Is this you, brother?
That's me.
All right. Talk about Defy Gravity.
Okay. Yeah. So really, Defy Gravity is all about really motivating and inspiring people to think and act big and to shed the self-limiting beliefs, the doubts, the fears that they have that might be hindering them from launching into their greatest self, whether it be professionally or personally. So I believe that all of us have been given gifts and a purpose by the Creator to do some great things. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't understand what our gifts or our purpose are. So because of that, we're unable to tap into it. We're unable to bring value to the world. We're unable to be as fulfilled as we would like to be and live as successfully as we would like to. So, I'm really big on the law of attraction and speaking and thinking things into existence. I've seen the role that mindset has played in helping me to accomplish a lot of my goals and things that I never thought that I was capable of doing previously. So I just wanted to share some of my experiences, impart some of my knowledge and wisdom, also share some tips and some success strategies that I've learned from mentors and through my readings and exposure to other successful individuals. And, I put it all into a book so that hopefully it can reach some other person, that mother who is, just a stay-at-home mom who's raising the kids and catering to her husband, but she's feeling unfulfilled because she knows that there's a greater purpose for herself. Or that person who absolutely hates their job and they're just doing it just because they have to. And, they really just know that there's something else that they can do, some other value that they can bring to the world. I want to inspire those types of individuals. The person who has big dreams to launch a business and is always told by family and friends that their dreams are too lofty or that that's too difficult. I want to inspire those people to go after their goals.
All right. You use the word big. When you say
Yes.
big, is that as big in terms of however the person defines it within themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. It's whatever you want, so my dreams and my visions might be different from the next person's. So big is, relative, so at the end of the day, most of us know that we can do more than we're doing. And, I knew that of myself. Growing up, I was always this reserved kind of kid. I was very imaginative, had a very vast imagination, very smart, but I didn't always want to share my thoughts or my opinions for fear of being judged or that somebody would say, man, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of held all of those things in, and it took me until my adult life as a young professional and just kind of working and feeling unfulfilled, feeling disappointed, with the money that I was making and that I wasn't working in the areas that I was most passionate about. And I just knew that there was something more in life for me. I just knew it. So I delved into books. Everything from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, John C. Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, Steve Harvey, Act Like a Success, you name it, all of these different books, watching motivational videos by Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins or, even Floyd Mayweather, anybody who was just successful at their craft and just had that mindset that I wanted to have and kind of believed the way that I wanted to believe. So I just connected with those individuals. And that's kind of what started my journey. So I know that there's other people who feel the same way that I do. They just need somebody to give them that push or that motivation or just somebody that they can connect to and relate to show them that, hey, anything is possible if you believe.
Well, you know what? Being in that space, brother, you're being where you are is no fluke.
Right.
You are where you are. Let me ask you this question, though, because you said talk about growing up. Mm-hmm. What was your earliest or your most vivid recollection of being or feeling different? However you define different, earliest or most vivid?
That's a great question. The earliest and most vivid of being different. Well, probably around like elementary school and middle school. See, my dad is from Newark, New Jersey. My mom is from Washington, D.C. I was born in D.C., but I grew up in my earlier life in the northern suburbs of Chicago, predominantly white area, so I was one of the few Black kids. And really, so I guess that one of my earliest experiences of feeling and knowing I was different was being one of the few Black kids in my school. And, even just when we'd have, history class or something, and we watched the Roots in class, and I'm like one of two Black kids in the class. And then, we're having those discussions, and it's like, I'm like 8 years old. Everyone's looking at me, feeling sorry, feeling pity, or whatever the case may be. And I'm just like, hey, like I'm different. And I remember there being a part where I was talking to my mom in the car, and she was talking to me about something regarding Black history or like what we went through. And I was like, Mom, stop. I didn't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because it reminded me of how I was different. And now that I look at that, I'm like, that's terrible, that I felt that way where I didn't even want to hear it because it just reminded me that I wasn't like some of my other friends, so that's probably one of the earliest memories that I had.
Okay, so in terms of being different, you obviously parlayed that into a way for you to just be an achiever. Who are some of the other people who influenced you? I know you said you listened to the videos and watched videos and read the books, many of the same books I read also, but were there other people that I call unsung people that had an influence on your life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was delving into the books and motivational videos, I was in my 20s, so I was a grown man. But as a kid, definitely my dad was one of those heroes. He's the person who instilled kind of that work ethic and drive and vision into me. He was an entrepreneur. He ended up being an entrepreneur after working in the journalism industry for 20 years. He went to Howard. One of the things I credit my dad with is that, I had a really well-rounded experience. I lived in the city, I lived in the suburbs. He would drive us when he'd take us to the far south side of Chicago, show us life. We'd go to Spanish Harlem when we were in New York, the Bronx. And then he would take us to these very rich neighborhoods and just show me the contrast of life. So very early on, I started to see how different people live, their different experiences. He would always make sure I was in certain groups or connect me with the Rainbow Push Coalition, Jesse Jackson's organization, things of that nature, to kind of show me that, hey, there were young Black people like me, success-minded, all of those things, doing positive things, but they knew exactly who they were. They embraced their identity, all of those things. But then he just showed me, the difficult side, and he showed me the successful side and let me know that, hey, it's your choice, which direction you want to go. So definitely my dad, and of course my mom, just giving me kind of that global type of, being cultured and just being exposed to different cultures. And a couple of teachers at Howard University, where I went to school in DC. So definitely them, just educating me. And, even it's funny, you're talking about pants sagging. My pants never sagged that low, but I remember being at Howard, I had this, the dean of the School of Communications at Howard University. His name was Philip Dixon, and he used to work with the Washington Post. And one time I was walking, he's like, man, your pants kind of sagging down or whatever. And I kind of laughed it off because, that was kind of the style in the early 2000s and stuff like that. And now I look at older pictures sometimes, they never were like sagging, but just still like, not of the person that, I was aspiring to be. And I look at some of the old pictures, I'm like, man, my pants were that. I look ridiculous. Like now I look at it now and I'm just like, goodness gracious. But yeah, definitely people like that at my college at Howard, and, my parents. Definitely there's mentors now that I have, but I'll probably say my parents the most. And then, I don't know, different professionals that I saw, as I started to grow up.
Okay, so given where you are now, and you've kind of given us a good frame here.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of?
What I'm most proud of is just being a father and a husband. and just, building my family and building my legacy. I have a 10-year-old son, I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 2.5-year-old, and just, doing what I'm doing to be a great father and kind of impart that wisdom and those valuable lessons so that they can, grow up to be productive members of society. So I definitely pride myself on, fatherhood and things of that nature. That's a very rewarding part of my life. And actually writing my book, actually, when I wrote my book, I always said that I wanted to be an author one day, but the way it kind of came about during COVID, at the start of COVID-19, that was a very trying period, but, I took advantage of it as an entrepreneur to kind of do some things that, I didn't think that I would do or that I was postponing. So to finally see the book out there and, seeing that I put all of my thoughts, my heart and soul, 500 hours worth of my personal time, to write this book, and know that I have something that I can share and pass down and that people can read, years from now, that's something that I'm very proud of. And then just the work that I'm doing to uplift and elevate entrepreneurs and other people that have goals and dreams through my company, Intrigue Media Group. And, those are things that I'm very proud of.
500 hours.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh
sir.
my goodness. Woo. There you go. The entrepreneur side, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So what are you doing here? Talk to us.
What I'm doing there is I'm speaking, this particular school is the DeKalb Academy of Technology and Science. That is in Stone Mountain, Georgia. I spoke to some 6th graders and some 7th graders. And this was something that I'm doing through my platform, Defy Gravity, which was birthed by the book that I wrote. So, of course, these are young kids, this is a very impressionable age for them. They're around the ages of 12, 13 years old, and that's where kids can go in one direction or they can go in the complete other. So what I learned based on my studies is around like 6th and 7th grade, that's when a lot of kids decide if they're going to stay in school, if they're going to drop out. This is where peer pressure, is running rampant. And this is where, if you don't reach these kids at this age, they can go astray. So I definitely wanted to make sure here that, I'm collaborating with different schools. I'm speaking at different schools with kids. I speak at conferences and different events. But my focus here is just, talking to these kids about their gifts and about, learning to identify their purpose, their passions, and, helping them to establish that success mindset and not letting anybody deter them, letting them know that whatever their goals are, those are their goals. They don't have to worry about fitting into a box or what somebody else thinks is possible. So, it was a motivational talk that I had with them.
Hey, do you see any patterns or similarities? Not similarities, that's the wrong word. What obstacles do you see out there for young Black boys?
The obstacles that I see really is trying to fit this facade, this image of what they think Black kids are supposed to be like. And I blame it a lot on, I hate to really point the finger at entertainment, but I feel that entertainment is a lot to blame. I feel that this social media era that we're in a way is very deleterious to the growth of kids. Because they're so busy looking at people flexing and flashing money and, having the girls or whatever they see on social media. Some things they have no business seeing, but, it's out there. And I think that the social media age is kind of forcing them to live in this fantasy world, where they're kind of disconnected from reality and they spend so much time trying to be somebody else that they don't know who they are. I think that image of who you're supposed to be on social media is really kind of just taking them in a direction they don't need to go.
I think you're right. There's a lot of social media, particularly television, very influential, very influential.
Absolutely.
And the peer pressure, at least when the groups that I work with in the DC area, it's the peer pressure that is just, man, it's trying to break that cycle.
Right.
Is tough. In your book, is there a section in your book that people should, I mean, the whole book is good, but is there a section in your mind that people should really focus on?
I think the chapter people should really focus on is stop lying to yourself. That's one of the
All right, you got to
earliest
say more
chapters in the
about that.
book.
Say more about that.
Yeah, right. So a lot of people, we're not honest with ourselves. You know, we want certain things in life, but you know, we're not. We don't face ourselves in the mirror and say, "Hey, are you doing what is required to be the person that you want to be?" You know, are you allowing people to steer you away from your goals? Are you falling victim to temptation? Are you putting the work in, or are you being lazy? You know,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
right.
Say that again, because what I find is people aren't willing to do the work.
Right. That's what it is, you know, and definitely even, you know, in my experiences in business, whether it's PR or whether it's my credit repair business, you know, people dig themselves in holes or they find themselves with challenges. If they dug themselves, they took 8 years digging themselves into a hole and they want some magic potion to come and get them out of it in, you know, 3 weeks or something like that. You know, they come with emergencies or whatever the case may be. You know, it's just I notice a lot of people, you know, don't, like you said, they don't want to do the work. They don't have the intestinal fortitude to dig deep and really examine themselves. And I know that for a fact because I had to deal with that. You know, in order for me to, you know, like I said, I was an intelligent kid and, you know, I had a lot of bright ideas, but I had to really say, hey, man, if you want to be very successful, and especially if you want to be like, I wanted to be a speaker. You know, I admire people like a President Obama who could stand on the stage or any motivational speaker or any leader that could stand out there and, you know, really just educate and empower other people. That's what I wanted. But I knew that, hey, one, I had stage fright. So I knew that I had to overcome that. And I'm like, okay, so if this is what you want, one, you got to become an expert in your field. So you got to do the work. Two, you got to go out and make connections and, you know, build because there's doors that you need to be able to get into that you can't currently get into right now. All right. And then second of all, like you got to overcome your own fears and insecurities before you can ever help anybody else to get over their fears and insecurities. So I had to look myself in the mirror and I had to do the work internally, you know, and, you know, I had to delve into what I desired to do, you know, what I was capable of doing at that moment. And then, you know, that's when I jumped into the books, watched the motivational videos, started networking, started forcing myself onto stages where my legs are shaking and I'm nervous, but I made myself do it so that I could finally muster the courage to get on stages and talk to people. Like those are the things that need to be done. And I think with anything, you know, I call this a microwave society because of the social media, because of all the images of fast money and stuff that we see before us. You know, our young people and even adults, you know, they don't recognize that they have to embrace the process. And that's another chapter on my book as well, embrace the process. You know, we all have a process that we have to go through in order to reach the best version of ourselves. And lots of us are spending too much time watching other people and, you know, kind of calculating, hey, how did they get here so fast? Like their journey is not your journey. It could take someone 2 years to get where it might take you 10 years to get to. And you have to be fine with that if you want to get where you're trying to go. So yeah, those are definitely,
brother,
you know.
you hit on something, a lot of things there, but one of the things you also hit on, you said credit repair business, you know.
Yes, sir.
My grandfather had a second grade education, but he spent 1 week with me when I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
And he saw how I was living.
Mhm.
And he said, okay, you got a good job, you got a sports car, you where do you go every night? I was hitting the clubs every night.
Mhm.
And two things he told me that I never ever forgot were true. True. First
Mhm.
thing he told me, he said, look, good credit is better than money.
Right.
Okay. He said, do not ruin your credit. You could have a bunch of money in your pocket and can't rent a car. He said, so just good credit is better than money. First thing I remember.
Mhm.
Second thing, he said, all that clubbing you doing, he said, you know, it's nothing in the street but the street.
Right.
I said, and I had to think about that, but he was right. But
Mhm.
talk about the value and importance of establishing and maintaining good credit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like he told you, you know, credit is more powerful than money. So actually, just for some perspective, an 800 credit score has more power than $100,000. for people who don't understand that. It can get you through more doors. So kind of to your point, what you were echoing, there's celebrities, people, millions and millions of dollars. They need to fly their assistants out to help them check into hotels or to get rental cars because their credit is so bad. They can't purchase the homes that they want. Or let's say they do have millions of dollars and they want a nice luxury car. They got to pay out of pocket instead of just being able to put a little to no deposit down and drive the car off the lot and just be responsible and make timely payments. So, financial literacy is very important, and what comes with financial literacy is knowing more about credit, understanding, that you have 3 credit scores, which a lot of people don't recognize. Right. Most people, they only think they have 1, or they're using Credit Karma, which is kind of like, just a generic version, which doesn't give them all of their scores. So they don't really maintain it. So definitely credit is very important. I would advise people to stay on top of your credit reports frequently. I check mine, even though new credit reports only come out once a month. I check mine like every week. I'm always just looking. I've just trained myself to always stay on top of it, stay on top of your payments, because one late payment can drop your credit score as much as 70 points. And people don't understand that. So if you have a habit of not making timely payments, or just waiting and stalling, and your credit is probably shot. And those are one of the lessons that I had to learn, because I didn't learn. My parents did a lot of great things. My dad was the entrepreneur, but kind of money management and credit is not something that I learned about. So the second I stepped on a college campus at Howard University, the credit card companies are flooding, talking to students. And, you're signing up, you're getting your little Target card and charging it. It can be $75. And you're like, I don't need to pay it. And it's on your credit report years later down the road. You're overdrafting accounts and things of that nature. So I've done it. I've had bad credit previously. So I know what leads to bad credit. But I also know that I also have educated myself on what credit is all about, and I've been able to repair my mistakes, where now I have excellent credit, and I'm happy to say that. And now my focus is helping other people to obtain excellent credit. So definitely, as far as maintaining it, you have to make sure that you're responsible. Don't, spend money within your means. A lot of us, like I said, with this society that we're in, we want to fit this image, this facade. So you got people going and buying Gucci belts, but they're going home and they're like they don't own
empty house with no furniture.
Empty house with no furniture, or they got this nice car and they're driving to nowhere, and it's just that those are the things that we need to change. It's okay to go through the process to build, and trust me, like if you have an excellent credit score, your money can take you very far. Not to mention you can qualify for credit cards, get, all types of perks and bonuses, for shopping and travel. You get cash back, where your money that you're spending, you get some of it back, as opposed to just using a regular debit card or paying in cash. So there's a lot of benefits to having good credit.
Let me ask you one more thing about credit, and then we'll move on. But I think this is important. What advice do you have for people who are legitimately, they're doing all those things that you talked about, but they're saddled with student loans and debt that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, currently right now, most people aren't being impacted by the student loans. Right now they're not reporting them. They're not reporting late payments. And I think that, there's a lot of looking into what's going on with student loans and how a lot of people have been burdened with that unnecessarily. So right now, just as far as like policy and education, I think people are really trying to explore how to lift that burden off of our students, who go to school to be doctors, or they go to school to be physician's assistants or nurses or whatever, and their student loans are way more than their salary, and there's no way they can pay it off. So, I think with that, right now, you just got to stay on top of your payments, and they shouldn't be reporting negatively. I work with a lot of people who have student loans, and they're not being impacted by them right now. I don't know what's going to happen later down the road. I guess we got to continue to monitor that, but yeah, definitely. If you've been paying on your student loans, that's a good thing. But I think that if you haven't been, I haven't seen people being affected by that right now.
Okay, so
That answers your question. Yeah.
no, that's it. That is because I've talked to people who, and I know they're not, there's like a debt forgiveness or there's just
Right. Yeah.
stuff with the facilities, but
Yeah.
that's not going to last forever.
Right.
And an executive order from the president could wipe all that out, but it hasn't happened yet. So,
Yeah.
but that's politics. I'll stay out of that.
Right. I mean, just keeping it honest with you, student loans can be disputed off of your credit reports, but that's something that have to get with me.
Okay. So how can people get this book?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely on Amazon.com. So you can get it there. Defy Gravity, Unleashing Your Greatness Within. You can also purchase it on my website, intriguemediagroup.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at Ivan the Great. If you would like a personalized signed copy, you can just DM me and I can get that out to you. So those are the 3 ways that you can get the book.
Okay, so I'll make sure that at the end of this broadcast that information is available to people.
Mm-hmm.
A few words about Intrigue Media.
Okay. Yeah, so Intrigue Media Group is my PR and brand and reputation management company. I established that company in 2014, and the focus on that is really helping to elevate brands. So if you're, an emerging brand, an entrepreneur, if you're an influencer, an entertainer, my company focuses on arts, culture, lifestyle, and entertainment with the purpose of helping to articulate your message. So we of course, engage the media by helping to secure press coverage and interviews. We do strategic communications, which is helping you to establish partnerships and collaborations with different individuals, different organizations. And we also, identify events that are suitable for our clients to engage their target audiences for speaking engagements and things of that nature. So really, we're just a mouthpiece for our clients. We're a liaison between the client and the media and kind of spokespeople.
All right, that's great. So Ivan, what final words would you like to leave us with in terms of helping young people?
As far as helping young people.
Actually, you know what? I shouldn't say young people.
Okay.
People.
People, yeah.
Because sometimes the age thing, no. Because right. I got friends my age who would probably should be leaning forward to the screen right listen to what you're about to say.
Right, absolutely. The first thing is know yourself, and it sounds pretty general, but I think that's the basis for why a lot of people are led astray. I think a lot of people are, not really operating as their true selves. They're following the examples or the false guidance of other people, and they're putting themselves into a box. They haven't really identified why they are here, what their purpose is, with their gifts. They're having other people telling them what their gifts should be. So unfortunately, just for an example, we all know by now we've seen that there are more successful Black people out there than just ball players and rappers and drug dealers. I mean, there's no excuse. We've seen it. We've seen the video directors. We've seen we've seen the president. We've seen, CEOs. We've seen doctors. We've seen attorneys. All of these people, we've seen them front and center on our screen. So we have enough examples to know that we don't have to be pigeonholed, and it's not about what society is telling us anymore. We have to dictate who we are, and that comes with understanding our identity and not allowing ourselves to fit into a box. So one, you got to know yourself. And once you finally figure out who you are, what you want out of life, then it's about association. A lot of us aren't spending time around the right kinds of people. So if you want to elevate in life, you have to be around success-minded people who want better for their lives, or with people who are already where you're trying to go. It's simple. I relate it to school. If you want to be an A student, you can't hang around with the kids getting the D's and F's. You gotta stick around the kids who study and get the work done so you can learn how to do it, learn best practices, and that's with anything in life. If you want to succeed, there are people out there like you, whether you recognize it or not. So sometimes we just have to, stay true to ourselves, not succumb to the peer pressure, which can be difficult depending on what age you are. But as adults, hopefully we don't succumb as much. So where you can be true to yourself, find your lane, and then just go for it.
Brother, you said a mouthful. You said a mouthful. Ivan Thomas, man, you are always welcome back on this show.
Thank you so
And
much.
matter of fact, we will be having you back soon, I'm sure.
Okay.
And like I said, at the end of this broadcast, we will have all the stuff up so people can contact you, so that people can buy this book and start to make decisions and calculations to turn their life around and improve it.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan Thomas, thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. And any way that I can help and support what you're doing, please let me know. I appreciate you allowing me to be on your platform.
No problem. And for folks, once again, this is the book, Defy Gravity by Ivan Thomas. We'll have all the other stuff at the end of the broadcast. And that concludes our show. Be safe, everybody.
All right. Have a great one.